Hi guys, welcome back to your Not So Ordinary Scrapbook channel. Today is Monday, and I know I promised yesterday that I was going to put all the scraps and stuff in the page kits that I made on Saturday, but I kind of had a medical emergency yesterday. So it, well, I've been taking this medication. I probably have talked about it before. And it's a popular one that, like, people use to lose weight and stuff. But what ended up happening to me is, after taking it for about 3 months, I guess I started taking it in April. So April, May, June, July, 4 months. Or like 3.5-ish months. I had an allergic reaction yesterday. I broke out in hives, was itching uncontrollably, like all over my body. And that's the only thing that could have caused it. So I didn't eat anything out of the ordinary or drink anything out of the ordinary. So I am guessing that this medication that is technically for people who are diabetic, and I'm not diabetic. So I don't think that I'm going to be able to take it anymore. Or, well, I know I'm not going to be able to take it anymore because there's something in it that my body just, like, said enough. After 3.5 months, it was like, no. I mean, the stuff made me violently sick, like most of the time anyways, if I was taking it the way I was supposed to. When I was taking it at night, I didn't really notice that much of a weight loss. So I started taking it in the morning, and it just made me sick every single day. I felt horrible. And I just can't live my life that way. Feeling horrible every single day. Well, I was taking it anyway. Like, basically, I went down to the medication that I'm on is a pill. It's not an injection, like some of them are. And the pill you have to take every day. It's not like a weekly injection. So when I was taking the pill every single day, it was making me sick. Like if I took it in the morning. Well, yesterday I took it in the morning, and it does make you lose weight. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did lose. I don't think that I lost as much as some people do on there. I really didn't feel like I was not hungry, except for right after I got sick, because of course you don't feel hungry if you're feeling sick. But otherwise, I don't think that it ever, I've never been that big of an eater anyway. So I don't think that I've ever been a person who overate. In fact, I probably skipped too many meals, and that's probably my problem. It killed my metabolism. But, yesterday I took the medication, and I was okay for part of the day. Well, I got sick. That's the normal thing that happens every single time that I take it. But by midday, I just completely broke out in hives, and was my entire body was itching like crazy. So I immediately took some Benadryl, and that helped a little bit. Later on, I took some more Benadryl, and it went away. I don't have any hives or anything anymore. It just went away. So now I'm thinking, okay, I didn't go to the doctor or anything, or to the ER or anything, because I've had allergic reactions like this before from other things. I have a lot of allergies in general. Um, and it's funny, a lot of my allergies develop after years of, like, I've taken penicillin most of my life. Like, until like 5 years ago, I broke out in hives, and the only thing that could have caused it was the penicillin. And so they immediately said, and I did go to the ER for that, and the ER said that that I was allergic to penicillin, and so that I couldn't take penicillin anymore. And I said, but I've never been allergic to penicillin. I don't understand. And they said, you can develop an allergy at any age to something. So I'm guessing that that is basically what happened in this case, is that I am now allergic to that medication. So I'm not going to be able to take it anymore. But I'm not that sad about it, to be honest. It's a horrible medication. I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't know. Yeah, it does work for weight loss, but from what I understand, like, well, what people have said is you stop taking it and you'll gain it right back. Well, I was taking it like once a week for the past, probably 4 or 5 weeks. I've been taking only one a week because I can only take it during the weekend because I work during the week and I can't be sick during the week. That happened one day. I think I talked about it on here already, that like driving home from a client's house, I had to pull over the car and throw up because I was like, man, I was feeling awful, like during that entire session, thinking, don't get sick. You're working with a kid, don't get sick. And I made it out of their house after the session, down the road, around a curve, and yeah, that was all it took. So, but I haven't gained any weight back since then, is what I was getting at, is that it hasn't caused any like additional weight gain back. But like I said, I don't eat a lot in general anyway, so I don't know. I'm to the point where I'm just like, you know what? It's frustrating because I wanted to get under 200 pounds, and I am so close, like so close to under that mark, and like when I am about that size, I'm between a 12 and a 14, like size wise. And it's not terrible to be between a 12 and a 14. I mean, it's not like I'm what I used to be. I mean, I used to weigh a lot more, and I was like wearing an 18, which is totally insane to wear that size of clothing. But like a 12 is like, okay, I can live with a 12. But I was like hoping to get back down to like, man, before I had Hunter, I was wearing like an 8, size 8. And it would be nice to get back down that small, but you know what? It's like, at my age, does it really matter anymore? Does it really, really matter? Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to be obsessed about it. As long as I'm healthy and I'm not dealing with, illness or anything like that, and I'm working out and doing what I should, walking and all that stuff, that's what really matters. It's not like whether I look good in a bikini or not, because chances are I'm not going to look good in a bikini unless I have surgery anyway, because after you've had a few kids, like that part of your body is pretty well stretched out. And then after, like, I had gained a lot of weight after my pregnancy. So like, then losing all that, gosh, in the past 20 years, I have probably gained and lost weight like multiple times, but the most was like within the last 7 years. I lost, I lost 65 pounds and then like gained a little back and then lost that again, then lost an additional 10 pounds. And then like, it's like, you know what? It's overrated. It's just all overrated. So, but anyways, back to scrapbooking. We'll get back to scrapbooking now. So I had originally, at the end of the last video, said that I had 4 page kits, but I actually had 6 because, is that right? 4, 5, 6, yeah. There were those 2 that were already somewhat put together, and then I added some more paper yesterday, or not yesterday, Saturday. So I wanted to add some scrap paper that went along with these kits, the ones that didn't have any embellishments, and then add some embellishments that I had on hand. So what I did was I just opened, like, I keep my scraps in like a Ziploc bag, my scrap paper. And if any of this stuff matches, I'll probably keep it out here. That doesn't really have anything. So what I'm gonna do as I go through this is I am going to, there are just a few. I don't want this video to be super duper long because I have a couple baskets of like random like leftover embellishments that I'm gonna use, but I want to scrapbook outside today, and I'm not going to do it on video. That is ultimately my favorite way to scrapbook, is outside during the summertime when on my patio table with the umbrella up and there's no wind. Now, when it's windy, it sucks because it blows your stuff all around. Today is not a windy day. It's perfectly sunny. I'm done with work for today. I just worked this morning, and I don't have any clients this afternoon. So I'm like, okay, today is the perfect day to scrapbook in the afternoon. And so that is what I'm going to do. So, but I want to do this first because I need to get, as you can tell, I'm kind of hoarse because of being sick yesterday. But I decided that I wanted to add these things first so I can take like a couple page kits outside to work on, or maybe just one page kit outside. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the stuff, and my Raskog cart is empty. Because I have already, is this the page kit too? Did I make another page kit? This is another page kit that I had already made, but it's not in one of the same things. Looks like it's got paper and a bunch of embellishments. No new ones though. Maybe I should add some new ones to this one because I do have some leftover new ones. So I guess we're making another one. I strapped a bunch of stuff. Oh, goodness. So I have a couple small containers of embellishments that we're just going to go through quickly. So what would go with this stuff? Not that. So I'm just going to sort through the stuff, and as I do, I'm just going to put it in the top of this empty Raskog cart. There's some greens and pinks. This is kind of like St. Patrick's Day, but it'll work with this, I think. So you can, if you don't have those, these vinyl folders like I have, these like 2-gallon scrapbooking Ziplocs work too. I think like papers came in this from some kit that I ordered at one point in time. Okay, I'm not going to use that. I think I'm going to stick these wood veneers in here because, like, just for something different. I think this kind of goes with this kit too. So what I added was the Good Things Ahead, Summer Sizzle, and Ellie Studio Lucky Charms. So that's going to go in this new, or this kit. Okay, so this kit is pretty much done. Not going to add anything else to it. And then these are all like new things. I'm wondering if I shouldn't add this to something, but okay, not going to worry about that. I have a bunch of these things. These are pretty much fall, summer. Already added that. Okay, I think I'm going to add this too. Is this the one that had orange in it? No, I don't think so. I think it's the other one that has orange in it. Yeah, this one. I'm going to stick that one in here. Okay. All right. I think I'm ready to start. Okay. This would go. So this is just a little embellishment. I'm just going to randomly go through here. Here's gray. There's nothing on the back. I don't think so. This color yellow. That might work. So I'm going to stick that in there. It's like a light tan. That might work too. That in the back. There's another piece of this. That's some white. That might go with this. Actually. That too. No. There's another piece of that. No. Maybe. That kind of goes with that. This is Christmas. That should go in my Christmas stash. Some black. Some black. Some vellum. Baby. It kind of does go with this. I'm going to stick that in there in case I want to do a baby one. Some gold. What about these? These are fairly new. Okay, there's some brown. I think I'll stick that one in there. Not pink. Red. Green. Multi. This gold. Stick in there. No. And so I'm just like randomly going through stuff. This is single-sided. Doesn't really go with this page. Another Christmas one. Some of this stuff is Christmas. I don't know why it's in here. It's not anything that I put in here for Christmas. Or maybe it is. I don't know. That kind of goes. These are definitely Christmas. That works. It's funny when you look at stuff, I know this is close to my heart and I know it's really old. It's funny how you remember. This came off of a stack of something that I probably got at Michael's years ago. It's funny how you look at paper that you've gotten, like, gosh, 20, 30 years ago, and you remember where it's from. It's interesting. I know this came out of, like, one of those books. Do you remember those books that, oh, you can buy them at Barnes & Noble. Like, I think it might have been from some magazine that, like, has scrapbook paper in it. And I ripped these out of there. Sometimes I like to buy, like, the sticker books and stuff. That's like an eye. It says relax, nothing is under control. Nothing is under control. It's funny. Okay, none of this stuff goes. Another old Close to My Heart square. That's Christmas. These are old planner pages. So I need to make a dermatology appointment because I have this mole on my arm. It's just like this. You can't even really see it. I've had it since college. So I've had it since late 1980s. And it's like a hard bump, but it's like opaque. So like it's the same color as my skin. Never thought anything of it. And then like something popped up on Facebook or something, and it showed like something very similar to that, and it said that it that whatever that person had was melanoma. And I'm thinking, how can this be melanoma? It's just like, it's the same color as my skin. It's just like this raised bump. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, I think I need to go in and have it checked out just to be on the safe side, because I don't know. I think this is a cupcake wrapper thing. Intended to be a cupcake wrapper. But I don't know how I would use that unless I cut out, like, I mean, I could use it for something. It kind of does go with this. Maybe I'll just stick it in there just in case. Bunch of old books. I love this paper from Close to My Heart. That's like one of my favorites with all the books. I don't recall ever using it very often. But I do like it. Stick that in there. That's definitely Christmas, unless I go with this side. There's pink scrap paper, pink tissue paper. This is tissue paper that came with my sunglasses. It's got to be semi-old because I haven't gotten new sunglasses in a while. But I recognize the name of the company is a sunglass company. Brick. I might stick that in there. Another planner page thing. This one I used to homeschool. I have all the assignments that, like, reading, H for Hunter, E for, like, I had math for Hunter, reading Matt, or Ethan, math Hunter. All the different things, reading composition. But I use this part, and I use this, like this little title. So might as well reuse that stuff. There's some silver tissue paper from something. Not sure what. And some green foil. So I'm hoping when I get that checked out at the dermatologist that it's nothing. I've been to the dermatologist before, and I may have had her look at it before. And she said it was fine, but I don't know. So, but it's been a while since I... Winnie the Pooh, happy birthday. It's been at least 5 years since I've been to the dermatologist, so I probably should go back because I have extremely fair skin and it's just always safe to go. I have a dermatologist, I just don't see her very often. When you have as many medical bills as I do right now, it's like you pick and choose, you know. I have some doctors that I absolutely have to see. I have no choice. And then I have other doctors that are like, you know. But, you know, your skin is the largest organ in your body. So it's, I mean, it's important to take care of that too. Okay, so this goes with this. So I'm going to stick some of this blue paper in here just because it kind of matches. But I'm not going to, I have a bunch of it, so I'm not going to stick it all in there. There's a cute umbrella. Sunbeam. That goes. The color doesn't really go. It looks like someone spelled coffee here, but it actually came like that. That's the way the paper came. So it was an intentional thing. Stick that there. Currently is always good. All the good stuff. Stick some cards in there. Maybe stick that in there. Some of the stuff is, it has to be Christmas stuff that got in here somehow. I do like that. There's green. I don't know. We'll stick that in too. Sometimes it's fun to just stick in some contrasting colors because you just don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. I'm going to stick in a white piece. Actually, I'm going to stick this in with the plastic just in case I decide to make a shaker. That kind of goes with that. Pretty. Just match it. Tag. This blue stuff. I'm going to take this black stuff out. That works. That works. I really have fun like using like random bits in here. Using up old stuff is really fun for me. This says Market and Spruce. I don't know what it's from. It's like a tag from clothing or something. But I kind of like it. I'd probably cover this up and use it as something. Store packaging. The best day. Some more green. Play on the green a little bit. Gray. This works with this. Leftover stickers, that works with it. Camera. Yeah, I think some of this stuff is Christmas stuff that I just decided not to use. Happy birthday. Definitely birthdays. So this year for Scott's birthday, we are going to St. Charles, Missouri. Sounds like that's where he wants to go. We always go on trips for my birthday, but never for his birthday. I don't know why. It always works out that way. But I'm going to stick these in here too. But it's always kind of worked out that way. Last year he turned 50. So I'm going to stick this one into this grid is the same green as that. So I can use this and then the packaging if I want to make another shaker. Although I prefer to use these for shakers. I think I showed you them before. I have a bunch of them in different sizes. Here's a smaller size. And I just cut them. I think they're designed to stick in your, like this is adhesive right here. And it sticks in your scrapbook, and then like you can put like pictures and like a smaller layout in it, a tiny one. But I just cut like one of these off, and they work excellent for shaker pockets because they fit. You just find a frame that fits it, and then you just put your stuff inside and then fold it over. I usually just staple it shut, and then once you stick it on the page, this doesn't come open. So it works really well. I don't remember what company made them, but I remember they came in like in a package, like with a cardboard back and like the bubble over top. And get fired up for the grill. That's just a card, but I might put that in there. It might work for something. We have lots of pictures of grilling. So we're going to go to St. Charles because that's where Scott wants to go. Scott grew up going to the casino. His dad was a gambler. Probably, my parents weren't, but my mom grew up in Las Vegas, and gambling annoyed my mom. I think partially because she worked in the business office of a casino when I was a baby, and it just annoyed her, like the amount of money that people blew on gambling. And so we would go out to Las Vegas to visit my grandma because my grandma lived there for several years, and then she moved to Wisconsin after her husband passed away. And before she got remarried, she actually got remarried after that husband passed away, who wasn't even my grandpa. My grandpa passed away long before that, but my grandpa passed away in Las Vegas too. They lived in Las Vegas when my grandpa passed away. But so I got a lot of frames that I can use to make shakers if I want to. Let's see, this kind of goes with that, so we'll stick that in there. Maybe this one, tradition. There's some green in there too. So I kind of got the impression that gambling was bad from my parents. Now, when Joe and I were in college, and we lived together, he won airline tickets from the grocery store. It was like you could sign up to like win airline tickets from the continental USA. Well, lo and behold, Joe won those tickets. And so for spring break, these are Susan Branch. These are really old. I'm going to stick this in here. He wanted to take a trip. Well, my grandma had always said that we could go out to visit her like when I graduated high school, that I could come out to visit. And so Joe and I decided that that's where we'd go. We'd go to Las Vegas, and then his sister, who lived in Ridgecrest, California, because her husband was in the Navy, that they would come pick us up, and then we would stay with them for a week. So that all worked out fine. Oh, and then to top it all off, two of Joe's old roommates that he lived with were going out to Las Vegas too for spring break. And so they had Joe convinced that we should get married. Like, they were like, if we're going out to Las Vegas, somebody has to get married. And they didn't want to get married. And they're like, well, you two are living together. You guys should just get married while you're out there. So that was the plan. Like, we were going to get married while we were in Las Vegas. Joe and I were. And we thought we'd elope and then come home. I mean, we're both consenting adults, you know. We just thought that that's what we would do. And my grandma foiled that plan. She overheard us talking. And Grandma's like, you are not getting married while you are out here. My grandma, like, put her foot down. She's like, your mom would never would never forgive me for that. And I was like, you know, oh, crap, you know. Technically, we should have been more quiet about it when we were talking about it, and then she would have never known. But I guess my grandma felt that, like, we were young enough that, like, she could tell us still, like, what to do, you know. I mean, we were 21 at the time. We both were 21. We were just 21, too, because I remember Joe forgot his wallet at Grandma's house, and we were at the casino, and someone stopped to check our IDs, and Joe's like, oh, man, I forgot my wallet at the house, and at your grandma's house. And I was like, to Jennifer and Jeremy and baby. Jennifer, oh, I know who those people were. I must have made a card, and I must have made an envelope and didn't give them the envelope. Huh, I must have made a different envelope. I must not have liked this one. It is kind of janky, but that was a long time ago. But we had to leave because Joe didn't have his ID on him. They made us leave. But yeah, I don't know. My grandma took us gambling there, you know, and Joe was really a kind of a tightwad. I don't know if he still is, but he was then. And so we really didn't, like, spend a lot of money on gambling, because we just didn't want to waste our money on it. And I wasn't a big gambler, and he wasn't a big gambler. But Scott grew up in a house where his dad and mom, that's what they did for entertainment. They always, like, went to the riverboat all the time to go gambling. Every vacation Scott ever took centered around casinos. He had been to Las Vegas, he had been to Reno, he had been to multiple other places because his dad loved to gamble. In fact, I think his dad had a gambling addiction. In fact, I'm sure his dad had a gambling addiction. Among other things, but so when we got married, Scott always wanted to go to the casino. Like, he was like, oh, I want to go to the casino. You know, because once Scott was of age, his dad was like, let's go to the casino. And, like, several of our dates when we were still dating were centered around going to a casino. And one thing that I would do, because I didn't really care for gambling, was, like, Scott's dad would literally give us money to go gamble with. Like, that was his thing. He would, like, give us each $50 and tell us to go gamble with it. And I just didn't enjoy it. I would rather just, like, pocket that money and not gamble. So when we would go to the riverboat, I would bring a book with me, and Scott would gamble, and then I would go up to the top of the riverboat and I would read. And that's just something that I did. Well, his dad caught wind of it, and his dad's like, well, you're no fun. I'm not going to give you money to gamble if all you're going to do is go up to the top and read. You know, that money's for gambling. And I'm like, well, here, have it back. You know, I just don't enjoy gambling. It's not fun for me. And so they never really invited me to go again gambling. And then after his dad passed away, no one went gambling anymore. His mom doesn't drive, so she's never asked to go gambling or anything like that. But Scott has wanted to, like there've been multiple times where he's wanted to go to the riverboat, or, you know, and I honestly feel like it's a waste of money personally, but I know that, like, he thinks it's fun, you know, to take a risk and, like, possibly win something, which we rarely ever do. I mean, we won something once. We won $50, but, like, we've never won anything substantial. His brother won a diamond ring one time. And actually that ring went to me after his brother passed away, because his brother was disabled, and so he wasn't going to use it. Like, it's kind of an engagement ring type ring, and it's really pretty, but it's too big for me. And I was going to pay to get it sized, and then I didn't. But he won it. It was like a drawing where, like, at the riverboat, where you could sign up to win this ring. And it's supposedly it's real diamonds from what I understand, but I don't know. But he won it, and then, you know, no one ever did anything with it. His dad had it in the safe when his dad passed away, and his mom asked me, she's like, after, you know, if anything happens to Brian, this ring is yours. And I said, okay. And then Brian did pass away, and so then she gave us all of Brian's stuff after he passed away, because she didn't want it in the house. That's something interesting about Scott's mom, is, like, when Scott's dad passed away, she, like, immediately after, like, got rid of all of his stuff. Like, she was like, most of it came to our house, because she just didn't like having stuff around, you know, that reminded her of the dead. And it bothered her. So, like, when Brian passed away, she did the same thing, and our dining room was full of comic books and all kinds of stuff for the longest time. And then I found someone that I could give it to, because I was like, it just sat there. I gave some of it to Hunter, wanted some of it, Ethan wanted some of it, Matt wanted some of it, so I mailed a bunch of stuff to them. Then there were still, like, boxes upon boxes of the stuff, because Brian got Social Security every month, and he had nothing to spend his money on. I mean, you know, and, like, maybe he'd buy a candy bar here or there, or a comic book, or a toy, or something like that, but that's all he spent his money on, you know, because he lived at home, and those were things that made him happy. And so it was like, when he died, there was a ton of that stuff, and I really didn't want it, because I was like, man, you know, that's more junk, you know, because I remembered when his dad died, and, like, we got a bunch of stuff that, you know, I had to figure out how to get rid of. Most of it I donated to Goodwill. And so thankfully I had somebody I knew that took it off my hands, because I was like, they were, I don't know. I could have donated them, but I was like, well, if this person wants them, they can have it. And, and so that's basically what I did. And they wanted it, so they came and got it, and the rest is history. But a lot of it was just like toys and like he had a bunch of like baseball cards, and Matt wanted most of his baseball cards though, so I gave a bunch of that. But Scott didn't even want like any of it. Like he didn't want any of it. I don't think he has like really anything of Brian's, because even the comics that Brian liked, Scott did not like. Scott was very particular about the comics that he liked, and he didn't want, like, he didn't really like any of the things that Brian liked, so. But anyways, to make a very long story short, well, less long anyways, because it's not really short. For Scott's birthday, he wants to go to St. Charles to go to the Ameristar Casino. That's his pick. And as much as I absolutely hate going to a casino and gambling, I said I would go. But he will have a limited amount of funds to use, because we don't have money to like gamble. So, okay, so this is this one. I think I've got enough stuff for this one. Okay, so I have 3. So here's, well, that one's full too. That one's full. That one's full. Okay. So now we have this one. So we're going to go through this too. So let's see what is in this basket that can go in here. I suppose this stuff can go in here. These puffy stickers. So I'm trying to like do something he wants to do. And we won't have a lot of money to gamble with anyway, so there won't be like, it'll mostly be vacation stuff. Now this, I feel like, now that'll work. But I feel like some of this reminds me of like, this reminds me of Disney World, like, yeah, all of these remind me of Disney World. Like there was a lady playing the piano at a resort. This reminds me of is it MGM Studios? This reminds me of Rock and Roller Coaster. So I think I'm going to stick those in there just in case I do any Disney stuff. This is pretty. So we'll stick that in there. Hot pink. There is hot pink in here. Orange, no. These are border stickers. So we've got orange. There's some dark blue. I mean, that might work with something. There's more orange. And there's a snowman. No. But I'm excited. I mean, it'll be fun just because we're going on a vacation recital. Piano recital. I'll stick that in there too because there's piano keys in there. What's this? Academic success, graduation, alma mater, diploma. I could do some of my graduation photos. Or the kids' graduation photos. Grandpa, granddaughter, girl. We'll save that one. Dance like no one's watching. Recital. I've got rhythm, fancy. Footwork. Ballet. Which I have no one in the family that does ballet. I think I have some pictures of my niece at her ballet recital. Might stick that one in here. This is another one of those Heidi swaps that I do with the gold foiling. These are letter stickers. I don't know what they're doing in here, but I'll stick them in there because they kind of match anyway. An eyeglass bag. This is cute. I saved it because I thought it was kind of cute. I don't know what I'll use that for. Okay, let's see. I'm kind of like, do I dump it? Do I not dump it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Ugh, such a mess. Okay, now I'm just going to put this stuff back in this bucket as I go through it. That kind of works. The family you come from isn't as important as the family you're going to have. I like that. Campbell's tomato soup. We'll stick that one in there. Stick that in there. Stick that in there. There's a turkey. It says, hey, I did that. I thought that that looked cute there. Hey, looked like something a turkey would say. And there's a woman, die cut, an old time TV. Don't count the days. This will work. Love. That might work. Details. This kind of stuff you almost need a white, like a white gel pen or a white paint pen, which I have both. If I wanted to do that, I don't use white gel pens very much anymore. I bought a whole pack a while ago, so I have a bunch of brand new ones because they do dry out fairly quickly. Wishes for a lifetime of love on Cloud 9. That's for like a wedding. You are so special to me. That works. A family stitched together with love seldom unravels. There's a cat stamp. A bunny rabbit. Isn't there a kit I have that's got a bunch of Easter in it? I think so. It's one that I already put embellishments in. Yeah, this one. I'm going to just stick that in there because it's Easter. We're going to stick that in there. This works. Every moment, family. Or treasure every moment with family. That does not match. This is off of a card that Scott got me a long time ago. One thing that I do with cards is the front cover I cut off or I rip off, and then I will then the inside where someone writes a sentiment, I just save that. So I save the inside of the card, but I never save the outside of the card. Just because the outside can be used as an embellishment, but the inside, that's pretty. The inside is what like I want to hold on to because someone wrote something special in there. Most of the time. There are some people that are kind of odd with greeting cards, so my mother-in-law has a habit of giving blank cards, like, that have not been written in them. And one time I asked her, I'm like, you didn't sign this card. Like, this was right when Scott and I were, like, married or whatever. And, like, cards to him either, she doesn't write in. She's like, oh, I thought you could use it again. So she didn't want to ruin the card. So she thought that, you know, I could use it again. And I thought, that's not the point of giving a card, is like, you want to write something nice in it. You don't give them a blank card. Like, I could go out and buy another card. But I mean, to me, that's the most important part, is like, where, like, when I save Christmas cards from people, I don't save the cover of the card. Like, that just goes in my scrapbook stash. But I do save, I might take one of these teapots off of here. But I do save, I do save the inside, so I had to make sure I text one of my clients for tomorrow after I'm done with this, because I need to confirm. Some people have already confirmed. So, but I have one that I haven't heard from. That I have to remind. Hopefully, the child has been sick for a while, so I'm hopeful that they're better enough to do a session, because they were really progressing. And then, like, the thing that I worry about when kids miss sessions like that, when they're sick like that, like, one here or there, that makes sense. But, like, some kids, like, if they miss a lot of sessions, then you're starting kind of at ground zero again. And that's tough, because, like, you lose what you don't practice, and it makes me sad that, like, you know, it would make me really sad if I had to start over with this child. You know, I mean, I'd do it, of course, but it would still make me sad, because this child had progressed some. So, you know, I got those a really long time ago. These. I still don't know what to use them for. They're square clips. I guess they go, like, on the edge of a page, I would imagine. And then you can, I suppose you could glue them there. But I have all different colors of these that I bought at some point in time, and I just never used. So I think I'm going to challenge myself and try to use some of those. I've already put a bunch of these in. I did put some wedding stuff here. This says wedding day, so that maybe I can do some wedding stuff with this. We make the perfect pair. Happy life. Ice cream. Live well. I like the ice cream one. So whenever I feel like I'm like, okay, you have enough stuff, you know, with heartfelt sympathy, friends. This one, okay. So this is from a company, I can't remember the name of that company, But an actual friend of mine designed this. And she gave me this whole kit with this on here. I can't remember what the name of the company is, but she actually designed this. And so she gave me, we were at their house. Her kid is friends with my kids. And I didn't even know she scrapbooked. I never knew she was on a design team at one point in time. But she was, and she's like, she told me, she's like, I was on a design team, and they sent me like a bunch of like packets of my design, like after, it went for sale. And she's like, would you like one of those? And I'm like, yes. And it's a well-known company, and I have the whole kit. I think actually it's, I bypassed it. It's this company. Yeah, Embellishments. Okay, so this is it right here with the purses. This came with it. Okay, so this is the company, Embellishments, and she was on the design team, and she created this Girl Talk design with the shoes and all this. But yeah, that's interesting. But she gave me a couple different kits of what she made, of the design that she made, and I thought that was kind of cool. That, and I actually looked her up because I was like they were old kits when she gave it to me. Like I don't even know if Embellishments is around anymore, but I had heard of that company, but at the time it wasn't like super well known. And then I was looking through an old Creative Keepsakes magazine or something like that, and I saw her picture and her name, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she, not that I didn't believe her, her name's Tabitha, but not that I didn't believe her, I did believe her, but but it's unusual, in the town I live in isn't very big, not that that matters for being on a design team or anything, but I've never been approached to be on a design team or anything like that. So, but she's really artistic. I mean, she's sold man, she used to sell greeting cards and other paper crafts at this little craft store in town. It's gone out of business now, but she is super talented, man. I bought some of her stuff just to use for scrapbooking that she made, some paper piecings that she made at one point in time. And yeah, I'm pretty impressed with how artistic she is. But she is a stay-at-home mom, which is so interesting that she was on a design team, and she's so artistic, but she I don't think that she's ever worked outside the home, I mean, she does. Her son that's friends with our child has autism, so that it could be why, he still lives at home even though he's an adult. So I'm not sure, I really don't know. I know her through her son, and then we would get together for girls' night sometimes with another friend of mine who now lives out of state, but when she used to live in town, we would get together. And sometimes when they would come home to come here to visit, we would get together. and stuff. But we haven't done that in a really long time. The last time I saw my friend was at my son's wedding last September, and because her son was in the wedding. And Tabitha's son was actually at the wedding. He wasn't in the wedding, but he was at the wedding. But she kind of, I think she might have that disorder where, like, you can't leave your house or something. Because I don't ever, like, recall her ever, like, much going anywhere, you know? Like, we'd have events and stuff. They belonged to the same group we did. When we used to, like, have parties for, like, the group homes and stuff. And she loved to host at her house. Like, she didn't mind, like, hosting all this stuff at her house, but she did not like going other places. So I don't know what that's called, that type of, like, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not, like, trying to throw a, like, a disability on somebody, because that's not fair. But I've known other people like that just, they don't like to leave their house, you know. Like, I never see her out. Like, even, like, her husband, he doesn't work there anymore, but he used to work with my husband. Well, that was fun. I slid off my chair. He used to work with my husband where he works, and sons and stuff. And they and every year they do, like, this, like, they vote on, like, some family fun thing. And last year we went to a baseball game in Peoria. That was what everybody voted on. And it was fun. And he was there with his kids. The husband was there with his kids, but she wasn't there. She didn't go. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to, like, you know, talk about a person, like, that there's something wrong with a person, because we all have our own things, you know, that we deal with, or struggles and stuff. And she's really nice. I mean, I always got along really well with her. She's a really nice person. So I would never want to, like, label anybody with something that is not true. But okay, so there's this cat, and this has orange in it. So I'm just kind of like, this has orange in it. These would make good shakers. But I can see how a person could get that way, because when I used to homeschool, I would go to, like, homeschool. I kind of was like that. Like, when you're home all the time and you don't go out, it becomes odd to go out. It's kind of like when COVID was, like, going on, and we were forced to stay home, and then, like, we didn't go anywhere. We didn't go to the grocery store or anything, or I didn't. I didn't go to the grocery store or anywhere, you know, because I was going to, like, I exercised all the time, but that was closed. Like, a lot of stuff was closed for quite a while. And so I just didn't Scott would go to the grocery store. Like, we had one person, like they said, limit your exposure, don't go certain places. And like, I mean, we tried really hard to follow that rule. So, Scott had to go to work because he worked for a place that was like open during that time. And they never shut down, which I'm thankful for, because like, I don't know exactly how we would have survived otherwise. But the first time I got out was probably like a month after that, and I remember going to Walmart and just feeling so weird. Like, I almost felt like I was on another planet, because it just felt really weird to like leave the house. And I kind of remember that feeling like when I was homeschooling the kids, and we and we didn't get out that much. I mean, we did, like, we had activities with like our homeschool group, but that wasn't like out of the ordinary. It wasn't like something that was, there's black in here. This is chalkboard stickers, so I can use like white gel pen, and then these match too, so I'll stick that in there too. I have this sticker pad. So I'm gonna do these. I think there's some orange there. There's some orange there. I think some of these are like planer stickers. Yeah, these are planer stickers. I should just put these in with my planer. Sometimes it's hard to tell like what I should use for planning and what I should use for scrapbooking. Like, there's kind of a crossover there somewhat, because I do use my planner, but I don't get so fancy with it. I mean, I want it to be functional too. I mean, it's probably more functional than fancy, but I do like to decorate it. It's fun to decorate it when I have time. I don't always do that. I have to use a planner every single week, because I have to write down who my clients are, and I have to have like this, I have to have a record of it to turn in, so I can get paid. That was something that, I don't know if that matches though. That came off of a card that Scott got me, I'm pretty sure. That might work. Those are cute, those bottles. I loved this paper. Chasing Adventures by Jen Hadfield, homemade. I use these so much. Oh my gosh, I cut all these little bottles out. They were fun. That butterfly matches. But I kind of became recluse. Is it called recluse? Recluse? When you don't get out a lot, and then you kind of feel weird when you get out. I mean, it's not like I don't ever want to get out, but it's kind of the same way when you're not working. Like when I was a stay-at-home mom for so long, and I homeschooled, and then like I worked out of my home. Like I don't think there was hardly ever a time where I wasn't working. Like I did childcare out of my home. I mean, I did a lot of different things out of my home. Because there's ways to make money if you're a stay-at-home mom. There's just, you get inventive, and you figure out ways that you can make money working from home. But mostly it surrounded kids. Like I like doing childcare for people was my main source of income. And then, when you're doing childcare for people too, when are you going to get out of the house other than to maybe go to the park or something, So there wasn't a lot of places that I went, and you just feel weird about going places. It feels awkward. But it feels awkward to or it used to feel awkward to go to work every day when I first started working again outside the home. It just felt really weird to do that. Now it doesn't so much because I am home in between time. I was thinking today after I left a client's house, how much I absolutely love my job. I mean, I feel like I am contributing to the lives of these kids, and and I feel like they learn so much. And not just from me. I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm a fabulous teacher, all this stuff. That's not it. That's not it at all. It's just, I feel like I'm doing something worthwhile, and that's super important. It's super important to feel like you're doing something that's making a difference in the world. And I don't always feel that way. It's some of my clients are really hard. It's really, it just depends on the severity of the disability. Sometimes it's hard. You have some really challenging cases that you have to work with. And I love those cases too. I love working with those kind of cases, because what each little milestone is just so incredible, especially these parents who's who the doctor will tell them that there's no hope, or there's don't expect much or whatever. And then, you're working with this child and they're doing a lot of the things that the doctor said that they would never do. That is wow. It's just and it's nothing that I did personally. It's just, having the tools to be able to give to the parent, to try to help, and then, and the parents just taking off, our goal, in my profession is to have the parents put us out of a job. I mean, really, we're trying to coach the parents so the children don't need us anymore. That's the ultimate goal of what I do, is for kids not to need me. So it's working my way out of a job, and that's awesome. Whenever that happens, because it's just it's so incredible, the strides that these kids make. And you've just fallen in love with these kids too. Oh my gosh. I know that whenever I say goodbye to any of my kiddos, it's just going to break my heart. Because each one is just so precious in their own way. They're just so it's just really remarkable. Never did I ever think that I would be like doing something like that. I was talking to Scott about it the other day, that like it's so funny that like when I think about what I'm doing now, and then like I probably would have never gone back to school to get like this higher degree had like I never had like the heart problem that I had, and never been like put in the position that I was put in like at that time, and having the support that I got from people, and like to push, myself like beyond my limit, which I didn't know what my limit was back then. Like I really didn't, because I was so set in my ways, and so like not, it seems surreal sometimes when I think about it, like of what I'm doing now, and then like what I was doing, 7 years ago. It just blows my mind, like that my life is so vastly different from back then, and that I had, and had anything been different back then, like if something would have just like changed, or I don't know, if I hadn't have had the support that I got, or the diagnosis that I got, or any of that, or worked as hard as what I did to like overcome that, and and get better, oh my gosh, it just like blows my mind, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. It just really makes you like, I don't know if y'all believe in God or anything like that, that's controversial, on a lot of different levels. I do. I have faith. And but I feel like I can almost see the big picture, which just blows my mind, that that like, because there was a time in my life where I was like, why are you doing this to me? I was asking God, I'm like, why at this age, why at this stage of my life, why are you messing with my life, type of thing. And I'm sure, like, I know it sounds selfish, and I know it sounds like, well, everybody, has things happen in their life, and I have to wonder if people actually, maybe not out loud, but like to themselves, ever say, why does this have to happen? Or why, because I do, I question it, or I did. And now, like, I see, and I've said that with like each of my jobs that I've had, that like, oh, now I know why God put me in this position or whatever. And then, something bad would happen, and it would be like, and I'd be like, well, what are you doing now? Why did I get fired from this job? Or why did that have to happen? Or why I hated this job? Why did you put me in this position that I thought that you were putting me in for good, and then you changed it? And it's like, because I wouldn't be where I am now had he not put me in those positions. I needed that experience. I needed that, I needed to learn something from each of those, things, whether it be good, whether it be bad, whether it be like, learning about people, learning to be resilient, learning to, work harder, or change, or be better at something, like each one of those situations like that I was in, I've learned something from. And so it's just like, it may sound cliche to say that, like, oh, well, I know that this was God the whole time, you know, and I do think that a lot of it was, but some of it was like, you know, on me too, you know. It wasn't like, I mean, I think that God was always like guiding my path to this, like, this is what I want you to do, because it's a job that I can do long term. Whereas, like, had I got a job at the school or worked at the school or whatever, I probably wouldn't have worked there forever, just because, you know, I'm older, and, you know, people my age are thinking about retirement. You know, even people younger than me are thinking about retirement. And so I feel like if and those are long, grueling days. I mean, I'm older. Do I really, you know, am I capable of even doing that? You know, I still have a heart condition. I still am dealing with that, even though, you know, it's supposedly better. You know, it's been better for quite a while, but it could get worse again. You know, you just never know. You know, things could happen. I could get a different diagnosis or something like that. You just don't know with age, you know, what kind of changes happen in your life. And I'm really thankful for how this job just kind of, like, I wasn't even looking for it. It just kind of fell into my lap. Like, and it's funny because I hadn't been talking to Katie for a really long time, because I was mad at her. We were close for a really long time, but it was kind of like, I think about Elon Musk and Trump. Like, they were hot and heavy for a while, and then they got too close, I feel like, and then all of a sudden now they can't stand each other. It's kind of like that. I kind of laugh about that, kind of chuckle, because it's like, that is just like real life. Because in real life, like have you ever had a relationship like that where it was like someone just like kind of bombarded into your life, and you were just like, you know, okay, and then you were like best friends, you know, besties, and doing everything together, and, you know, and then like the honeymoon wore off, and you were like, oh my gosh, you know, is this the right person for me to be hanging out with? Is this, you know, that kind of stuff. And then you move on, you know, and then you, like, you just kind of like, it's, you know, and in this situation, you know, if something happened that really made me mad, you know, she did something that was just like unforgivable, which I still, you know, I'm still like, I don't know. I'm still not there yet 100%, but like, I've forgiven her to the extent that I made myself forgive her. And maybe that was the whole reason why I worked at the daycare, because I always wondered why did I take that job at the daycare and then only work there 2 months, and then I hurt my back and I had to quit, and I was in physical therapy, you know, all this stuff. And it's like, what was the point of even working there? But like, I was forced to make amends with Katie, because I hadn't talked to her in about a year, because I was so mad at her about the Esme situation. And I felt betrayed. Like, what she did was a betrayal by, like, you know, going to my granddaughter's mother, and like telling her, like, I had confided in her on things like that were private, you know, that like Hunter had told me, you know, like about her, about the mom, you know, Hunter was like beside himself. Like, he was just like sick. And I had been telling Katie this because she was supposedly my best friend. So I was like confiding in her, never thinking that like she would ever like betray that trust. And then come to find out, she's this whole time sending everything telling the mom everything that I'm saying to her. And I'm like, what kind of friend is that? Like, like, it's just, and it's, and she was like, every time I was talking to her about it, she's like, yeah, she's like that, and she'd always agree with me and all that stuff. And I just was blown away. But she's actually the person who got me this job, which just blows my mind, because like I would have never even known about it had it not been for her. Like I had to force myself to forgive her, because her kids were in, like, I worked with her kids every day. They were in the after school program that I went to after, like, I worked in the preschool room as a teacher, or pre-K, and then after those kids left for the day, then and technically I was still in training, really. I mean, I only worked there for 2 months. Like, you're in training for 3 months. But, like, I was doing a lot of that stuff, like, on my own. I was having to, like, do, the role of, like, cleaning up the room and doing, all the stuff and taking care of the kids by myself. And, well, I had a helper, but that kind of stuff. And then I'd go to the after school program until 5:30, which was an incredibly long day. And but there was no one to fill that slot, so they put me in there, which her kids, all 3 of her foster kids were in that class. And then and the first day, like, I saw her and I was like, oh my gosh, her kids are here. Like, I didn't know, like, when I first started, that I kind of knew her foster kids went to that child care, but I didn't think that I would have anything to do with them, because they were beyond preschool age. They were school age. And then it just so happened that, like, they were in my class, and so I had to interact with her. And so I was like, Amy, you got to let bygones be bygones. And so I did. And, and we, she wanted to friend me on Facebook again. And so, or she did a friend request on Facebook again, because I had blocked her for a while, but then I unblocked her, because I thought, well, you need to be nice. So I did. And then, but we were never as close as, like, what we used to be. But then when this whole situation came up with, like I was going to work for a school, and then come to find out that they were, like, I don't know, cracking down on, like online schools or whatever. Like, I don't know what the reasoning is behind it, but for whatever reason, I would have had to gone back to, like, school and take multiple classes, like, and this whole, like, teaching training program to become a teacher. And it was going to take, from what I understand, it was going to take like 2 to 3 years. And I was like, I'm done. I'm so done with school, and that I was going to have to pay for it. Like, it just didn't seem, little did I know that when I got into this profession that I was going to kind of be in the same position, because, like, there was required training to do what I'm doing right now. A lot of required training. Not as much as, like, had I become a teacher, just because a lot of my credits, because I do have a master's degree in special education. So what I'm doing is largely special education work. But, like, because the Board of Education is so strict with, like, who they hire and, like, what colleges they hire from and all that stuff without additional training and all that stuff. even though I had worked for the school district for 7 years prior, but that was a long time ago. That was before all these rules went into play. I worked at the school like during the No Child Left Behind era. So that was long before, and that was just starting when I worked at the school. Like President Bush was president when I started working at the school. So like it was a different time and different requirements. You just needed a 2-year degree to do the work that I was doing. Even though I had the requirements to do that then, there's just a lot more to it now. Apparently. At least that's what I was told. Because I was like, I called Roe, the Regional Office of Education, and I'm like, at the time, I was like, what do I need to do? Because I used to work at a school, and I don't understand what the problem is. I always had good reviews and stuff, and they're like, well, it doesn't have anything to do with your work, anything that you did while you were working at the school. What it has to do with is, like, the requirements are different now. And I was like, yeah, but I was licensed. I took like the test. You had to take a state test to be able to do what I did, and I passed it. And they're like, yeah, but that's exempt. Like, I don't know. Supposedly because I quit, and before, like, you had to be grandfathered in, but you had to work like so many hours or so many years, like, after, like, you pass that test to qualify to be grandfathered in. And I didn't work. Like, I took the test in 2004, and then I quit in 2006, and that wasn't like a long enough period of time to be grandfathered in without having to take more training and courses and stuff like that. And even though I got, a degree in that, because my degree was in something else, when I worked for the school, it wasn't in education. But I qualified back then because I had the degree. And that's all they looked at was, like, as long as you have a college degree, you can work in this position. But, like, because but now you had to have, like, a degree, an education degree. And then you also had to, like, take a course and, do all the other stuff. And, like, for having a master's degree, like, I didn't want to be a para again, just because, like, the pay as a para sucks. Back then when I was working, like, I was making probably $20,000 a year as, like, a para, maybe $23,000 a year. And I don't think that's about as much as Jordan. I think Jordan probably makes about $28,000 a year now. Now that she has a bachelor's degree, though, she said it'll go up. Like, all she has to do is send, like, her bachelor's degree information to Roe, but she graduated in education. So, that brings her pay scale up. But, like, for me, even though I had an education degree, in order to be a teacher, I would have to go back to school. And I was like, at the time, I was like, no, I'm too old for this. I'm too old to go back to school. And honestly, I don't know that I would want to, like, now that I think about, like, this job was, like, a godsend to me because, I didn't need to meet all those qualifications because I already qualified. And it's not through the Board of Education, it's through DHS. So, like, that's a totally different entity. And even though it is largely directed through the Department of Education, because my kids are, once they turn 3, then then they go into the Board of Education. But, like, because I'm birthed to 3, it's a whole different system. But I like it. I like the flexibility of being able to schedule clients and then, around my schedule and, like, move clients around. That's one thing that I love most, probably. Like, the best part of my job is working with the kids and getting to know the families. That is by far the best part of the job. The second part of the job that I like is the flexibility, is because, like, when I go on vacation to Arizona, I can move my clients around, and, like, so I can still see them. Like, I fly out on a Thursday, so I can move all my, like, Thursday and Friday clients, I can move to earlier in the week. And usually the parents are pretty, like, understanding and flexible about moving. Sometimes I'll have to see them at childcare instead, or sometimes I'll have to see them, at a grandparent's house, or something like that. But they're usually pretty eager to, like, make sure that their child is seen that week. I've never really had an issue other than, like, like, if it didn't work out, like, to reschedule, that they just, like, said, well, we'll just skip it this week, and then we'll just start up, next week or whatever. But most of the time, like, everybody is really understanding, and, like, especially, like, when I had to reschedule because of the funeral when Kason died. I mean, everyone was, like, so understanding about rescheduling, or even holidays like Memorial Day or the 4th of July. Like, normally those days I see clients, and, like, I just tell them a week ahead of time, hey, Friday's the 4th of July, and I normally see you that day. What other day and time work for you? And then I'll try to slip you in, in between other clients. And then they tell me, and then it's like, okay, that works, And, like, this week, I had a parent text me this morning and say, hey, can we move, do you have this time available on Wednesday? Because I usually see this child on Tuesday. And I said, yeah, actually I do. I do have that time available. Well, actually, I made it a half an hour later because I saw a child, like, up to the time that they wanted. And I was like, I need drive time to be able to get to your house. So, like, can we make it a half an hour later? And she's like, oh, perfect. So, like, just open communication with the people that you work with, the parents, and, like, everybody's pretty flexible and, willing to accommodate one another. And I always let them know that too, that I am very flexible. So if, like, something comes up with their schedule that they need to, make a change, just give me a call and we'll work it out. We'll make sure their child is seen, this week, just at a different day or time, different place maybe, and it works out fine. But I love the flexibility of that. And just the fact that I get to come home in between, like, I'm not stuck in a job for 8 hours. I work a lot at home with my job because I have to write out reports, and I have to, like, record, progress. I have to write out progress notes after I see them. And so that's important. So I'm not like completely free when I get home, free and clear to do whatever I want. I still have responsibilities that I have to like do. But for the most part though, like if I'm like today, I had morning clients, but I didn't have any afternoon clients. So like I came home, I did my progress notes, and last week you have to write out like a 6-month review, and then you have to do every year you have to write out an IFSP for the child. So when their annual is up, and my boss reminds me of that, like, okay, so and so's yearly is coming up, so you have to like write out your report or type out your report, and then I send it to her. That's what I did last week. I have a kiddo who next week has a 6-month review, and so I needed to get that to her last week, and I always send it to her like far in advance in case there are any changes. I always tell her, like, if there are any changes that you see that you want me to make, let me know, and then I'll make them. And then before we send it to our CFC, because they're the ones who, because we're a multidisciplinary team, like if the child sees multiple therapists, which most of the kids do, then we're all on this like conference call with them during the meeting, but we have to have our report with us, so we can kind of like discuss it with one another, with all the therapists and the parents, to see like, okay, how is this working? What changes do you want to make, like, in 6 months? Do you, how do you feel about his progress? That kind of stuff. And then we go from there. And that's kind of just what we do. But it's definitely what I like, it's not what I thought I was going to be doing initially, but I'm glad that that's what I'm doing now. And like I said, I wouldn't even be doing this had I not made amends with Katie, because I would have still blocked her on Facebook. She wouldn't have been able to get a hold of me and say, hey, I know this person, and because she works for DHS. So, and she's like, have you ever thought of this line of work? And, I was very receptive. I wasn't like skeptical at all. When she told me this, I was like, well, I don't really know too much about it. I never planned to work with like 0 to 3-year-olds, and she's like, well, get a hold of this person. And that person was my boss that I work for now. I got a hold of her, and she was like, yeah, if you meet the requirements and the state decides to hire you, then yeah, you definitely, I want you on my team. And so then I had to go through the whole process and get accepted by the state. There's like 3 different like certification points that you have to meet. And it takes a while. Like, I started the whole process, back in December, and I didn't start seeing kiddos until February. Like, I was like, I was kind of training. Like, I called it it's kind of called shadowing, where you follow someone who's doing it. So, like, I went with Des, and I went with Whitney, the girl that I took over for, because she was leaving. And that was like, my boss was like, knew that Whitney was leaving. So she was like, yeah, I need someone like right away. Like as soon as you can get credentialed, you know, get your temporary credential, then, you know, I need you to start. And it just worked out where like everything fell into place like right when it was supposed to. And that just was like there was no way that I could like say that God didn't have his hand in it. And I've always been kind of like afraid to say that, because it's like, it seems like whenever I've said like, oh, God had his hand in it, then like something bad happens, you know? And so it's like saying that is just like, I've always been kind of fearful of saying that, you know? But in this situation, I'm not afraid anymore, because it's so obvious that God had his hand in this whole situation, you know? And it kind of just blows my mind that like everything just like happened so quickly, and like without me having to like, I don't know, it was just, I don't even know how to even explain like how it all happened so quickly, and like everybody has been so great, and like I love the families, and it just blows my mind sometimes when I think about it. And I'm no longer afraid. I'm no longer afraid to say like, you know, hey God, you know, like why, you know, is something bad gonna happen because I'm like talking about this? Because man, for the longest time, every time I talked about something that I was gonna do, or like this was definitely God directing my path, like something bad would happen, you know? And I'd be like, well, maybe, you know, maybe I'm bragging about it. Maybe I'm like, just like questioning every little thing that I'm doing. And it's like, I don't think God wants us to do that, you know, just like, because I'm definitely not bragging at all. You know, I know that I worked hard to get where I am, but like, I'm humble enough to know that I would not be here if it wasn't for a lot of people like just like helping me out, and like sending me on my way, you know, like I know that, and I don't take any of it for granted at all, because I know that my health could fail me at any moment, you know, or I could get really sick again like I did, you know. Like I questioned it for a long time, like why did I get so sick and have to end up in the hospital, and now I have like buku hospital bills, which I didn't have. Had I not worked at the Y, I wouldn't have gotten so sick like I did, because I got that from the kids, you know. And it's like now I have tons of hospital bills that I have to pay, and it just didn't make sense. It's like, why did you have me work at the Y, you know? But it was all like, God had a reason for it, I guess. You know, maybe it was to touch the little hearts of the people that I worked with, you know. Maybe it was to fill a gap that they needed at the time. Maybe it was just to have a little bit more job experience, so like the state would accept me, you know, because I had that huge gap, and that like filled up that gap a little bit. You know, it's hard to know what the reasoning was, but there was a purpose. I feel like there's a purpose for everything in life. There's a purpose for meeting people in life. You know, even people that you meet multiple times and you wonder, why in the heck, you know, does God keep making, you know, me cross this path with, you know, certain people again and again, you know, kind of like Katie, for instance. Like I literally told one mutual friend, I was like, I I can't be friends with her anymore. I can't trust her, you know? And then she did this, and it's like, I'm so grateful to her, like, for like mentioning this and caring enough about, you know, my future to do that, you know? I mean, I'm still, you know, I don't know if I can ever fully, like, forgive, like, what happened in the past with us, like, you know, with the whole Esme situation, you know, because I think that that was just really nasty. But even there, how do I know that, like, that was really, like, I don't know, you know? And she's been through a lot too, like, recently, like, all the questionable things that I had questioned about her, like, when I was angry at her, and like there were things that I had, like, observed that, like, really made me angry. You know, all that kind of came true after that, and I felt kind of bad, but it was good that, like, I hadn't had contact with her for a long time too, because like, my boss was like, that was the first question that she asked me, like, when I first talked to her. She goes, how well do you know her? Because I had said, like, when I called, I was like, yeah, Katie told me to call you. And she's like, how close are you to Katie? And I was like, you know, and I told her, I said, well, honestly, I haven't really talked to her in a year, because I hadn't talked to her in a year. And I said, and I had to tell her that we weren't, you know, we used to be friends, but we're not really friends anymore. Like, we kind of had a falling out, and my boss was like, good. And so then she went into detail why, and then, you know, but, like, I kind of felt like a heel too, because I'm like, man, I wouldn't even have this job if it wasn't for her. Like, I wouldn't even have this information if it wasn't for her. You know, so, I mean, I'm truly grateful for her. I'm sad for what she's going through right now. I feel bad. You know, it sounds like things are getting better, though. Like, I hear from her every once in a while now that she'll send me, like, a message or something, and she'll say, oh, this is going on or whatever. But, like, because of my job and who I work for and the situation behind it all, it's like I can't really be friends with her anymore. Like, we can, like, you know, so it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it won't always be like that, but at the time, and I'm kind of glad that it all worked out like that, because it's like, had I stayed friends with her, had that never have happened with Esme and all that stuff, I would have, I probably wouldn't have gotten this job. Just because if I would have told her that I was close to her, she would have said, well, they're not going to hire you because of this situation. Because of what's going on right now. And, you know, it was good that I could be honest and say, no, I haven't talked to her in a year. I don't know what's going on, you know, in this situation, and be honest about it. So that all worked out the way it was supposed to, even though I feel really bad for her that all that happened to her. I mean, I don't know a lot about it, to be honest. I don't know the logistics of it, because it's none of my business, and it's all, like, you know, confidential stuff. But I'm glad that I'm not a part of that whole thing. Because I think that would have prevented me from getting the position that I have right now. But I am truly grateful to her, like, for reaching out and, like, you know, and maybe someday we can make, like, full amends or something, and that'll work out and all that stuff, you know. Sometimes you're friends with people for a season, and then, like, you have, you know, it happens that you're not, you know, for whatever reason, you know. And then, like, there's always a possibility that, like, you could be friends again someday, you know. But sometimes not either, you know. So, I don't know. I just went on and on, blabbing on and on again, like I always do. But yeah, that was this video. So, hopefully it wasn't too boring for you, and hopefully you enjoy scrapbooking and with, you know, along with me while I was, like, rambling on and on, because I kind of do that every so often. Talk about things that I probably shouldn't be talking about. I tend to have a habit of doing that. I'm going to put some of these, like, enamel dots and things just randomly in these kits. Just for fun. I'll just stick some stuff in here. A couple different, like the orange one. I'll probably stick this one in the orange one. Stick those enamel dots in there. This one. This one will probably go in here. This one can go in here. No, this one in here. And then I'll put this one in here. Okay. All right. That is it. That is it. I have done enough. And now I'm going to go outside before it starts getting windy. My luck, it probably is windy again. And then what do I do, right? I'll have to scrapbook inside. But I'm not going to drag, like, my tripod or anything outside to do that. Maybe someday. I've done it before. Some of my older videos have that in there. But, so, you guys all have a good week. I probably won't see you again until probably Friday. I'm thinking Friday. One of my clients was supposed to switch from today to Friday because her schedule was changing at work. And then when I called her to, like, confirm, like, that we weren't meeting today, she said, no, actually we are meeting today. So that her schedule hasn't changed yet. So right now I have afternoon clients on Friday, but I don't have any mornings. So I'll probably try to film a video Friday morning. And it's a Esme weekend. So I don't know what we're going to be doing, but probably something involving the grandkids, because that's kind of how we roll every other weekend. But y'all take care and have a good week. Bye.